Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. Just want to start this episode off by saying, first off, what a fun week of basketball we've had so far. Opening week's been a blast to watch. This is the great part of the season, if you ask me, because we get that competitiveness from every team. Right now, the season just started. Every team is still in it. Because no one's eliminated yet, and no one's so far away that they're eliminated already. So you get that competitiveness. Every team brings it opening week. It's very fun to watch. On this episode, we're just going to talk about some of what's been happening, talk about some surprises, some good surprises, some bad surprises. We're going to talk about who gets their first victory of our three winless teams. And we're also going to talk about who is the last undefeated team remaining of the four undefeated teams remaining, who I believe will be the last and who I believe will get the first. So let's jump right in. Let's talk some surprises. So early on in the season, again, first week, I do want to say Milwaukee is playing really, really good basketball. And I mention this because even last season, we know it was the Doc Rivers that was starting last year. We had Damian Lillard and Giannis. Last season, Milwaukee did start well. We all mentioned and we all talked about them and Philly's extremely slow start last season. And Milwaukee is starting this season off on fire. They have some impressive victories, including one over the New York Knicks, which is considered to be a front runner in the Eastern Conference. They also took Cleveland down to the wire in Cleveland, which is, again, another considered to be front runner in the East. It's very early on, but I do want to give props where it belongs. Doc has those guys playing. They're playing as a group. They're playing winning basketball. And Giannis is unstoppable right now. The numbers he's putting up every game, it seems like he's becoming the force in NBA history to average this, to average that. It's insane, and it's fun to watch. Just from a basketball standpoint of the Bucks are showing out right now. Another team I'm surprised that has not won a game. We'll go from good to bad to good to bad. We'll flip it. Another team I'm surprised has not won a game, the New Orleans Pelicans. I did not see them, as you probably noticed from my Western Conference predictions, I did not see them as a perennial Western Conference favorite. But I did see them as getting wins early on because that's usually what New Orleans has done. They would raise people's hopes by getting some victories early on. We would say, hey, New Orleans looks like a good basketball team. Then later in the season, injuries, this or that, they would drop. There hasn't been injuries. They are not playing good basketball. And the sad part for them is, like, you want to be in these games. Some of these games are not even in. And that may be even more disappointing than anything is just the fact that they're not even competing in some of these games. And Zion's playing. It's not the disappointing part of it is Zion Williamson is actually playing these games and you're still losing. And some of these are blowouts. And this is supposed to be the in shape Zion Williamson. And it's not really making a difference. And at that point, that's not a good sign for the Pelicans, because you're basing winning on the fact that you have a healthy Zion. And if a healthy Zion's not enough, what trades, what moves do you have to make to actually be a decent team in the West? Because right now they're not even that. Don't want to say all the good for the East and all the bad for the West, but that's how it's looking. Because on the flip side, on the good, this is mixed. On the flip side of the good, we have the Chicago Bulls. Why do I say the Chicago Bulls? They're 3-0, okay? Playing really good basketball. They are versing some not so great basketball teams at the moment. They do have a win over the Orlando Magic, very impressive. Win over the Pistons. Pistons are not playing great basketball right now. But the fact is, like we said when they traded away Zach LaVine, and we thought they would trade away Nikola Vucevic, everybody was like, okay, well, Chicago's been in the in-between. They've been that, like, 7 to 10 seed, I should say, out east, or a little bit below, but still not good enough to be a top to get a good lottery pick. Well, unfortunately, they are 3-0 to start. This shows me one thing. I do not believe they're going to compete for an actual playoff spot in the East when the season moves on. So that tells me one thing. They're going to be stuck in the middle again. because they're not just tanking, they're not just giving up, and they're going out there and they're actually competing. And that just shows me and tells me that they're not going to be a bad team. But I don't think there's enough talent on that roster to be a good team either at that point. So I think, again, you're stuck in the middle, and you're probably going to be around, I'm going to say, anywhere from 8 to 12 in the East. And at that point, you're not good enough to get a high lottery pick. And I think that's becoming more and more of a problem with the Chicago Bulls. They're a trainer team. And these trainer teams, you never get to really improve or make a claim to be a better team or get pieces to be a contending team and get that future superstar. You just don't get that opportunity. And that's a messed up part. At one point in the season, it would surprise me if they start trying to lose, but at that point, it may be too late. Because as I've mentioned, we have winless teams right now still. And the Bulls are anti-winless. They're at 3-0. As well, if you look at the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton, they're 0-3. So it's like at that point, it's going to be one of those situations where the rich gets richer. If the Pacers end up getting a high lottery pick and the Chicago Bulls get mid-lottery again, that's not a good situation for them. Another team that I'm a little surprised by in the bad would be the Pacers. I will say I did not really expect them to make the playoffs handily, maybe as a play-in team, without Tyrese Halliburton all year. But I did expect them to come out of the gate a little bit better than this and play that Pacers ball. And I don't think it's that they're not playing that Pacers ball, but I think the Pacers style of basketball, we saw it on television. It was broadcast when they're making this deep playoff run. Well, at this point, all these teams have time to prepare for this for next season. It's not new. It's not surprising anymore, Pacers basketball. And I say this, and I probably said this last season too, and then look at what they did with the playoffs. But there's a difference. There was no Tyrese Halliburton to come in, be disrespected, come out and show he is not the most overweighted player in the league, that he's a star. And that's not going to happen this year. So I don't see things getting much better for the Pacers. I do think they'll whack up some wins, but I still see them around that play-in the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about some of our injuries that we've had. Unfortunately, this season's already been just a ton of injuries we've seen. Lakers are getting hit with the injury bug. We knew LeBron was going to miss the start of the season. He's going to be out till mid-November. Not a good sign for the Lakers. Luka's out for a week or two. Gabe Vincent's out to 2 to 4 weeks. Just injuries are hitting them, and it's hitting them at the wrong time. Trying to start the season off decent. We are seeing what Austin Reeves can do. Props to him joining Lakers legends, all-time NBA greats, Basketball Hall of Famers, by the stats he put up in 2 games. Congrats to him, but unfortunately, he is not enough to keep the Lakers in the Western Conference. Western Conference is too good, and Austin Reeves by himself is not good enough to keep them afloat for 2 to 3 weeks that we may be seeing. And that's unfortunate for the Lakers, because I do think they have a good roster, a better roster than people is giving them credit for. And I do think they could make some noise in the playoffs, but you have to get there to make the noise. And right now, it's going to be a battle where your guys come back from injury and you're expending all this energy to make a playoff push. If you start too slow, and then you're going to wear yourself out before the playoffs even starts, and nobody wants to see that. Another team, well, after injuries, notable injuries I should mention, we saw Sam Merrill go down for the Cavs. We saw DeAndre Hunter miss 2 games for Cleveland. We know they don't have Max Strus until about January. They don't have Garland until possibly November. But just a lot of injuries have been hitting Cleveland, so we haven't seen them close to full strength yet. Teams like New York, they've had guys play and guys not. We saw Mitchell Robertson miss a couple. We saw Josh Hart miss a couple. These are teams that people expect to go really far in the East. Miami has had Tyler Hero yet all season, but they say he's close to coming back. The Oklahoma City Thunder, our NBA champions, are without Jalen Williams. He has not played yet this season. So just a lot of injuries going around. De'Aaron Fox, I don't believe, has played this season yet either. Spurs are still 4-0, so props to them. Let's get into our predictions of who's going to get their first win of our winless teams. And our winless teams being the Pelicans, the Pacers, and the Nets. I want to say this before I talk about who's going to get their first win of this group. I just want to say that Nets basketball is an ugly thing to see right now. And it's no disrespect to these guys because they're trying, and the roster, it's not a lot of talent on the roster. And at that point, it leads guys like Michael Porter Jr. or Cam Thomas to hoist these horrible shots. And it's just bad. And if you're a Net fan, you watch this and you're just like, why is my team not getting better shots? And it's unfortunate that no matter what plays you won, your team's just not designed to get better shots. That's just because of the lack of talent on the team, unfortunately, and the just really bad job of just building depth and building a team for the future with the Nets. They do have draft picks coming up, but we're to a point where they don't even really have to try to tank, and they're going to be one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the league, and that's unfortunate, and you don't want to see that for any franchise, but there's not a lot to be happy about. If you're a Nets fan, you're going to be watching Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. hoist shots all year and bad shots. It's not good shot selection, and it's not really possible to get good shot selections at this point because there's not a lot of guys that you have to worry about defending on that team. So that means the defense is going to go to a Cam Thomas or a Michael Porter Jr. because if you shut one of them down, you should beat them handily. And that's just how the team's built. It's how the team's designed. So you make those guys take bad shots and you wear them out by them taking bad shots. And you make other guys beat you because you know it's not possible that anyone else on that team besides one of those two can beat you. And even if it's a night where Cam Thomas has 30 and Michael Porter Jr. has 30, they still may end up losing because no one else may even sniff 20. And that's sad, and it's just unfortunate, and it's the situation for Brooklyn. I think you have to try, and somehow you have to try and flip those two guys, Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas, for draft picks. I don't know how, because to get rid of them and with the shot selection they're taking and how they're going to be perceived from that shot selection, it's going to be looking like nobody wants to get those guys, and they're still good, talented players, but it's just going to make it look like they cannot hoop like we all know they can. And like I said, it's unfortunate because the system they're in, they're forced to jack these shots. It makes it look like they're ball hogs and they're not playing for the team, but they're doing what they have to even give their team a shot to win, and we see them sitting at 0-4, so it's not even really giving them much of a chance to win basketball games. So now they got that out. Who's going to pick up a victory first? I think it's obvious and you would expect the Indiana Pacers, but I'm actually going to say the New Orleans Pelicans. I think it's going to be a night eventually where we haven't seen Jordan Poole shoot all that well yet. Maybe it's going to be a night where he comes out firing, where Zion comes out doing his thing, and they pick up a victory. It may even be an upset victory. I don't know, but I'm going to say the Pelicans get the W before anyone. And who do I think is going to be the last team undefeated in the NBA now is the next question. Or undefeated teams would be the Chicago Bulls, the Philadelphia 76ers, which I just want to say shout out to the Sixers. Because again, much like the Bucks, we all counted them out last season. We all said like at the start of the year, like, oh, they're done and this and that. We haven't even seen Paul George play yet, but VJ Edgecombe, that man is a star. And he's looking like the Sixers found a future superstar in Edgecombe. So props to the Sixers, props to their scouting, and just all around props to what they're doing, the style of basketball they're playing. Tyrese Maxey, been saying for a very long time, is a very good, talented star player in this league, and he's showing it. And we also haven't seen Embiid be able to play his regular minutes. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see where Philly goes. As for last undefeated team, I'm going to go, let's mention OKC and San Antonio as options. And I'm going to go with the NBA champs, Oklahoma. I just think they're so used to winning games, and they're already on a hot streak. And even games where it seems like they're going to lose, they come back and they find a way to win. And because of that, I see their win streak to start the year going up to maybe 10 or 11 games before a loss. And then someone might surprise them, and they may have a couple bad games here and there. You have to remember, it's not like last season where you're hunted this season if you're OKC. So teams are going to give you their all coming into Oklahoma, or you going into their arena. Either way, you're going to get the best punch because it's the NBA champs coming to town, or they're visiting you. But either way, OKC is going to get a lot of teams, every team's best shot. And at that point, I do see OKC. I do think they get to 10 or 11, but they may even hit a little bit of a rough patch where they lose 2 or 3 straight. But that's just going to be because of how everyone's attacking you at that point. You're going to be tired. You're going to be wore out. But I still think, by far, I still think OKC at least, and this isn't at least, they could go all the way and win you again, but I think at least we see them in Western Conference Finals. That's how good of a roster OKC has. Want to thank you guys for joining. Stay tuned. We're going to get more episodes popping here. NBA season's going. It's been super entertaining right now. We have a lot more to talk about, a lot more teams to talk about. And we just want to see how some of these teams that are not even teams that we expect to be better and they're not doing as well, like Boston, Houston. Wolves have injury to Anthony Edwards, so they're not playing up to what they can. But some of these teams we'll talk about. We'll also talk about more teams overperforming, like the Miami Heat, which are looking really good. Golden State has a hot start to the season, but before I go off saying how good Golden State's going to be, if we remember last season, they had a hot start too, and then they really sunk towards the bottom of the Western Conference playoff run, and we saw how they did with a second round exit last season. So before we talk about teams like that, I want to give you a few more games and see where we stand after that. But props to a lot of these teams. Orlando Magic, they're struggling too. Everyone expected them to be better. The Atlanta Hawks are struggling. Me personally, I thought Toronto would be better, but they're struggling. So be interesting to see who comes into their own and what teams submit themselves as top contenders as the season goes on. But we are even 10 games in, so it's just fun right now. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.